Hey guys, it's just cloudy day, and in this video I'm going to be breaking down the tips and tricks and the steps that I take to make my games feel as consistent as possible. A lot of people in Valorant struggle with staying consistent. Sometimes they feel like they're a god, and sometimes they feel like they can't hit anything. These are the tips and the things that I go to and the steps that I take to make sure that all of my games feel as consistent as possible and feel like I'm controlling every single scenario while I'm playing. So the three things that I'm going to be running through this video, and I'm going to leave timestamps down below. Step one is going to be my pre-aim routine that I go through every time before a competitive session, this being what I do in the range. Step two is going to be what I focus on while I'm playing all the time, that being low tension aiming. And step three is my adjustability, another thing that I focus on every single time that I'm out there and I'm playing. These are the things that I'm going to be going through, and I'll leave timestamps down below for you guys to check out if you don't want to see the whole video. These tips are the things that have helped me go from being a hard-stuck plat gold player to a consistent diamond ascendant player, and it helped me feel like all of my games are under my control and not a coin flip in my end. Obviously, I have to say that there's going to be times where you just are against a demon player in the enemy team that is completely on fire, and those are things that you cannot control, or a smurf, things that happen consistently in Valorant, but these are things that are going to help you individually to feel as good as possible most of the time. Throughout the video, I'm going to throw in some tips and tricks that I like to use during the time that I'm playing also, not just the steps that I take. Hope this video helps someone with their aim, and let's get to it. I really recommend this, especially for those people that are in colder climates. Try to do some wrist exercises, get some blood flowing. If you have like one of these little heat bags that are usually for your tummy and stuff like that, these things are great. You warm them up, keep your hands warm at all times, because if your hands are cold, it feels very complicated to play, and your aim is not going to be feeling as good. And keep your hands as dry at all times to not let sweat get into them, which makes them cold really, really, really quick, and it can affect your aim directly. That's just a little tip that I like to add. Is not part of the main ones, but it's part of my warm-up per se, and it's something that I constantly have around me to just stay with my hands nice and warm. Step one is going to be focusing on having a good aiming routine that I do before all of my competitive sessions. I'll explain in detail exactly everything that I do and give some examples of some exercises that I do to practice different scenarios that I might be able to find in game. So the first thing I really like to do when I go into the range is to go to practice and just put the bots up naturally and do a simple exercise, starting to flick through, do small micro flicks in between all of the bots that I have here. So I'll go, and this is just as I first joined to try to get a sensation of how my aim is feeling. I like to go in and start to do some micro adjustments in between all of the bots. At the end of the day, this is not going for speed, it's going for first bullet accuracy and trying to get my crosshair in the right place. This does two things. Keeps me thinking of my crosshair level and what crosshair height you need to have as you're playing when you're holding angles. You don't want to walk around looking like this. You don't want to walk around looking up to the sky. But starting to do a warm-up here, playing with the bots nice and close, you start to get a feeling of what crosshair level you should be using when you're playing. Also, what I really like to do, especially when I'm warming up before I do my specific exercises, is take my crosshair and pick two targets and do micro flicks in between them. As you can see, not every shot is going to land, but that's okay. At the end of the day, this is a warm-up. But I like to pick two targets and do small little flicks in between them to kind of start to get my flick sensation. And the flick is composed of two parts. It's composed of the original movement plus then a small micro adjustment. It's bam, and then a small micro adjustment to get exactly to the target you want to do. It is better off that you do a stronger flick and you take a bit more time to hit that first shot rather than you try to go for like a fast insta tap, because as you can see, it's a lot more inconsistent. And losing that 0.2 of a second in most elos, obviously if we're talking Immortal, Radiant, Ascendant, yes, you might get tapped in that time, but unless someone's holding you, and you're wide swinging something, that split 0.5 of a second is not going to make as much of a difference as you think it is. So you're better off to do the flick, and then the small adjustment before you hit your first bullet, because as you go for the second one, you're already going to be panicking and moving around. So taking a little bit longer to just move and adjust slightly after your flick and get that first bullet accuracy is going to be massive. Obviously, as you get comfortable, we want to try and speed up that small break in between your flick and your first shot as much as possible. Now, for my step 2 that I like to do in the range, I like to do medium bots. I will do 4 to 5 to 6 of them based on how I'm feeling. My aim is feeling really good and I'm hitting. I like to set for myself personally a target of minimum 28 before I move on to the next one. So for example, I'll try to do 4 sets of medium bots at hitting 28 of them. And at the end of the day, with medium bots, and why we're not doing hard bots, is because we're trying to go for first bullet accuracy and first shot accuracy rather than speed. That's why we do medium bots and not hard bots. So I'll show an example of exactly how I do that. So as I do medium bots, my main focus is to do that first flick with a small micro adjustment into the head of the bot in this case. And this is training us to do, gives us enough time to do a flick, but with medium bots you still have enough time to do a small adjustment, which is exactly what you're going to find in most of your games as you're playing. You're going to be in situations where you do a flick and you do a small adjustment to try and get that first bullet accuracy as much as possible. It's okay if you miss a couple. For me, for example, right now I'm talking to the camera as I try these, but you get the picture. It's a flick with a small adjustment, and we're focusing on trying to tap instantly instead of trying to spray each bot that we get. You have a better chance of hitting their head if you take a little bit longer rather than you missing hitting their body and then taking their time and hitting your head. Now, another exercise that I really, really like to do, I like to go on Eliminate 50. And this is about being in the position inside and turning around, because this trains your movement. How you can adjust to targets spawning around you. Again, the goal of this is to get first bullet accuracy, change your crosshair from side to side, do 180s, 360s, turning around, getting used to the space that you have in your mouse, just generally getting the sensation of that head level at different distances also. But this is a great exercise for when you're playing in game and you have people pushing sides from multiple locations, just to get used to like all of the different angles that you're going to be attacked from. And it trains movement, flicking around based on audio cues, right? At the end of the day, even when I'm doing these exercises, I'm focusing on low tension and trying to get accurate first bullets, not about trying to do a lot of erratic movements and moving all over the place, but just trying to focus on small adjustments and movement. Isolating fights is a big part of Valorant, and the more comfortable you are with your mouse and your mouse space, the more consistent you're going to be. As you saw, I like to do the medium bots. I like to do these. And sometimes if I'm feeling really, really, really out there and I really want to train my reaction time and my speed, I'll do some hard bots. But I don't really recommend it. It's mostly just to train reaction speed and super fast flicks. Because it's not as likely of a scenario as you would find doing medium bots when someone's peeking an angle, for example, or when you're holding a corner, or where you're swinging out. You're going to be swinging with your crosshair in the right place and doing a small adjustment, which is most likely what you're going to find in most of your games. Medium bots is a great practice for this. Another thing I really like to do, I like to do 4 of these, 4 or 3 of these. I like to put the bots on strafe and do the same thing as I was doing before. On strafe, this trains you to do small micro adjustments. It's a lot more complicated, and you want to do 50 of these. This is about tracking the head and tracking erratic movements, because the bots are not going to move the same every time. It's about taking your time and seeing exactly where the bot is going to be. But this is why this is a great warm-up, because you're going to find, especially when you're flanking and things like that, you're going to find these erratic movements where you don't know how the player is moving. And you will see players whiff this type of shot when they catch someone from the back. And you'll see them go all over the place just because they're not used to doing these small micro adjustments where people are moving randomly and erratically. So this is a great practice to get a hold of what those movements look like. Damn, that bot jumped. But at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for here, is to track the head, see when they stop moving, and trying to get the shot there. Valorant is all about small micro adjustments and being calm and finding the time to shoot without being shot at, of course. There we go. What I also really like to do, go at different ranges and try to kill the bots from different ranges. As you can see, the head level changes at the different distances that you're at. And you want to try practice as many scenarios as you want. At the end of the day, this is the routine that works for me and is what I'm comfortable with. And for example, here, do exercises that are comfortable for you, that are going to get your sensitivity feeling as right as possible. This, for example, trains you aiming from above, which you're going to see in Ascent CT, you're going to see in aiming down mid doors in Ascent, you're going to see in holding Heaven and Pearl. Aiming down from top to bottom is something that happens in a lot of different situations in Valorant, especially in Fracture, for example. It's very vertical. Split is very vertical. So training these is not a bad idea. It's not about speed, it's about first bullet accuracy. It's about getting that first target that you aim for. Nice. So these are some of the things that I like to do in the range. I like to warm up with. Just get a hold of how my sensitivity is feeling, how I'm feeling for that day. Start to get some blood flowing, get my wrist movements, understand the space that I have in the mouse, get comfortable. That's the whole point of a warm-up. Get comfortable with the space that you're using while playing. Talking about step 2. Step 2 is something that I always try to focus on while I'm playing. And this is grip tension in my mouse. A lot of people think calm aim is the way to go, and agreed. You see a lot of pros and you say, wow, they have really, really calm aim. But what is calm aim exactly? In general, how I like to explain it is low grip tension equals calm aim. The less stress you put on your mouse and on your grip, the calmer your aim is going to be and the smoother your micro adjustments are going to be. If your mouse is really tight, making movements, going to get a lot of speed and jitter, but you're not going to get smooth motions. If you grip it softly, it's going to be a lot easier to do smoother motions, which is what we're trying to do here. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do high tension, especially for hard flicks or if you need to turn around quick to isolate a fight. Yes, you're going to have to switch to high tension, but we need to treat it like gears. And in general, try to go on low tension to put less strain on your arm and on all of your movements. So another tip that helps a ton, especially when talking about low tension aiming, is to reset your hand and your position of your body in between every single round. It also really, really helps if you have a cat. You can put your hands in their belly in between rounds and warm up. You can use them as a squish ball to just get some temperature and adjust a little bit. Pick up your cat, give them a pet, get some warmth in your hands. Helps a lot. Talking about the third step, which is super important also, we want to talk about adaptability in game. When you're playing, you want to be adapting to how you're feeling. So I'm not feeling the same every day. Maybe one day I've had a Red Bull just before my game. My aim feels super snappy. I'm overshooting heads. I like to adapt by, I have a general sensitivity, which is 1600 DPI at 0.13. And I like to adapt based on how I'm feeling from that basis. So for example, if I see that I'm over aiming, 128, right? So I'll go down a little, just a touch, so I'm not over aiming and I'm not overshooting heads. If I feel like I'm undershooting because I'm feeling a bit sluggish or it feels like my hand is moving slower, I'll bump up my sensitivity a little bit and I'll go from 0.13 to 0.135. Just turn it up a notch so I feel like I'm adapting to the situation and how my body's feeling. Don't be afraid to do micro adjustments, just don't change your sensitivity greatly all the time. Try to have one sensitivity that you're comfortable with and make micro adjustments based on how your own body is feeling. At the end of the day, all of these tips need to be adapted to the person individually. And these are the steps that helped me play with the same type of aim, and I'm not relying on coin flipping how I'm feeling that day. It has helped me a ton with consistency. It has helped me a lot to climb. And within 1 month of applying these things, doing an aim training routine and taking actual thought out steps, helped me a ton to go from being a lower elo player to a higher elo player and feeling like I was consistent, making me enjoy my games a lot more and making me feel like there was actual progression. So these are the little tips I had. I will be streaming, trying to reach Immortal, trying to pass my peak pretty much every week on Twitch, just Cloudy Day. So please pass by. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it helped at least one of you to get a little bit of a better aim and to feel a little bit more consistent throughout your games. Thank you very much for passing by. Hope you have a nice day and see you on the next one.